I awoke last night in the middle of the night with the refrain from Kurt Weill's new song, Chance to Bleed, in my head. And that's the second night in a row that I've awoken in the middle of the night with the refrain from Kurt Weill's new song, Chance to Bleed, in my head. And in my semi-professional opinion, that's the mark of a pretty damn good refrain. You wake up in the night twice in a row with that thing running through your head. Pretty damn good refrain. And I think we ought to have a little fun this week, don't you? I know that the last episode was really heavy, and I received quite a lot of compliments on it and a lot of encouragement and support about it. But I know it was heavy, and we could probably use a palate cleanser this week. I certainly could. And so, this week, I'm going to offer some lighter fare than we had on the last episode, which means I'm going to talk about Kurt Weill. I'm going to talk about some music. I am going to finally, at last, make a very exciting show announcement. And I'm even going to recommend a podcast. So if what you want this week, if what you need in a world gone crazy, to quote Fresh Breath, is a bit of lighter fare, this is the episode for you. And I am going to attempt to wax semi-eloquent about all of that, and who knows what else, after we do the thing. Now, Kurt Weill gets the honorary Semi-Eloquent with John Huff salute because he was a founding member of the War on Drugs. I have not listened to as much Kurt Weill as you might expect. I'm not quite sure why that is. I have sampled his stuff, and I've liked what I've heard. It's just I've never really gone all that deep with Kurt Weill. It's very strange, because you know, if you listen to the podcast, that the War on Drugs is one of my favorite bands of all time. And he was a pivotal piece of that band coming into existence. If you can swing back 20 or so years to the aughts, you've got young Kurt Weill and young Adam Granofsky, who you and I will know better as Adam Grandiseel. You got the two of them in Philly, best buds, writing and demoing music together. And from those collaborations emerged a project called The War on Drugs, an indie rock and alt rock outfit featuring the music, I think primarily of Adam, but I know that Kurt Weill was very involved in writing a lot of the early War on Drugs stuff, certainly performing it. And so at the same time, Kurt Weill was doing his own thing, which would eventually become Kurt Weill and the Violators. Back in the day, they're working together on each other's stuff, and so Kurt Weill is playing in the War on Drugs. Adam Grandiseel is playing guitar in Kurt Weill and the Violators, and they're both doing their thing, but the War on Drugs, I think, kind of broke first, maybe, and so that gets the attention. But Kurt Weill was a hugely important member of the band at the beginning. He was, I think, a co-writer and performed on their very first record, Wagon Wheel Blues. That's 2008. He also played a little bit on Slave Ambient, which was the second War on Drugs record. So a hugely pivotal figure in the early formation and early emergence of the War on Drugs. Now, at a certain point, very early on, even though Adam is playing in Kurt Weill's band, Kurt Weill decides he's going to focus on doing his own thing, maybe let the War on Drugs thing go a little bit, and that becomes fundamentally Adam Grandiseel's baby. Maybe it always was. I'm not really sure of the dynamic, at least early on, but two pivotal figures in what would become one of my favorite bands of all time. And so I probably should have paid more attention than I have to Kurt Weill. Again, I have listened and I have enjoyed. I just haven't gone all that deep. But every time something comes around whereby there's a new Kurt Weill song or a new Kurt Weill record, I kind of perk up and pay attention. And so it was this week when I hit upon this brand new Kurt Vile song, Chance to Bleed, which I'm going to go out and say is probably the first song of the year that really got me. Now, I've talked about some really cool music that's come out this year on the various episodes, and I really enjoy all of it. I don't talk about stuff on here, generally speaking, that I don't really enjoy. I wade through volumes of new music to find stuff that I really feel I want to talk about, stuff that I really, really like and feel like you might really, really like too. Most of what I listen to doesn't hit that bar. It sounds judgmental. It's not intended to. I listen to a lot of stuff. I like some of it. I like some of it less. But it takes something very special for me to say, okay, I'm going to give that 10 minutes on the podcast. And we've heard a few of them this year, but this is the first song, Chance to Bleed by Kurt Vile, that really grabbed me. And I listened to on repeat for like a day and a half, and is an early contender for Song of the Year in my book. If you don't know Kurt Vile's music, again, I'm not a great person to talk about that. It's indie rock, it's art rock, it's Americana, jumps around genres a little bit. Super cool. And what grabbed me right away about this new song, Chance to Bleed, which is the lead single from his forthcoming record, Philadelphia's Been Good to Me, coming out at the end of May, will be very interesting. And an enormous tour is going to follow that, which I believe kicks off in Toronto at History, I think on June 16th. So if you're a Kurt Vile fan and you want to see him live and you're in T-Dot or the Golden Horseshoe, go check that out. I might do some myself. We'll have to see how my own schedule unfolds. But this song, Chance to Bleed, just grabbed me right off the hop. And that is a rare thing. And I'm so excited when it happens because it's such a rare thing. If you go back through the various podcast playlists that I've created on Spotify every year, basically for the past 4 or 5, there are just a few songs on each of those lists where I'm like, that song's going to be with me for a long time. Like, I'm going to go back and listen to that years from now. And I would say Chance to Bleed by Kurt Vile, that's Vile, is probably the first one this year where I'm like, yep, we're looking at that as probably a top 5, and it's probably going to stay on my personal playlist for a long time. And I don't even quite know why. It's just damn cool. It's just a damn cool song. It's funny because I was looking through I think it was the YouTube comments. I also looked at a couple of Reddit strings about it. I think it was the YouTube comments where somebody described this song as if Dinosaur Jr. and Pavement had a baby. Some of you who are super hip listen to Dinosaur Jr. and Pavement. I've not listened substantially to those bands. For me, when I was listening to this song, it was some of the lyrics, a lot of the lyrics are kind of spoken. Kurt Vile just kind of speaks a lot of the verses, which made me think of Beck. But then the singy part, the refrain part that I woke up with in the middle of the night, that is sung, and that section reminded me a bit of the Stones. So from my perspective, what you've got here is kind of a mix between Beck and the Stones, and that's pretty cool, right? I know a lot of the people listening to my podcast enjoy those artists, and if you do and have not listened to Kurt Vile, Chance to Bleed is a great place to do that. But somebody else said, this song sounds like it starts at the end of the song, and the whole song is basically the extended end bit of the song. And it kind of does, because there is, I think, technically a verse-chorus structure, but again, it's just like a lot of spoken word, and then this refrain. And I suppose it's a traditional song structure in some ways, but it doesn't feel that way. It does really feel like the repeating outro of a song. But it's so catchy, and it's so hooky, that it just pulls you in, and you just hang with it. Somebody else commented on just how groovy it is. And it is. It's just this really great, groovy, swampy, I would describe it as an Americana tune, maybe indie rock / Americana tune. And that's me. That is me, particularly as a drummer. That's my pocket. more and more and more, I know that that's my pocket. A couple weeks ago, I made kind of a unexpected purchase. The unexpected purchase of a double kick pedal. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, kids. I've not played a double kick pedal in 30 years. As a teenager, growing up in the 80s, listening to all that glam metal, yeah, I had a double kick pedal, and I was young and impressionable at the time. And the whole game in those days was enormous drum sets, right? I mean, I'm a fan of Stryper back in those days. Robert Sweet famously had the 21 drums and 21 cymbals set up. Alex Van Halen with his enormous kits. Everybody had an enormous kit. And so the whole game was volume. I don't mean volume as in loudness. I mean volume as the volume of drums you had. And so my first kit was 4 rack toms, floor tom, kick, snare, and then a double kick pedal. Enormous. And I think about it now, it's like, yeah, you weren't gigging a lot, were you, kid? I was gigging a lot, but my drums were stationary. They were set up at church, and so I just went and I played there all the time. But enormous drum kit, double kick pedal, which I never could play all that well. I couldn't do anything all that well back in those days. I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying my best, getting by, kind of on raw ability, which only gets you so far. Let's not go into that. Point being, yeah, I had a double kick pedal when I was a teenager playing glam metal. Then when I left drumming for 10 years, and then when I returned to drumming, I stripped everything down, a little bit more mature, and I wasn't playing so much rock and roll anymore, and I became like a single pedal guy, and my preferred setup became kick, floor, snare. That's a long way from 4 toms, floor tom, double kick pedal. But it's a lot easier to carry around, man. And as you know, my journey as a musician has really focused me on simplicity. And as setups go, they don't get much more simple or much more comfortable, much more liberating than that. I once saw Terry Bozzio perform. You know, if you ever see Terry Bozzio, his whole damn drum kit is an entire band. I don't even know how many drums there are. There are dozens and dozens of them. It's enormous. It literally took up the entire stage. And then there's all these gongs and chimes and different percussive things. And the whole show is just Terry Bozzio playing these pieces that he's written on orchestral drum set. And everybody's like, that's like 8 bass drums. And everybody looks at it like, that kid is amazing. And it's like, yeah, it is. But it makes me tired. I saw Neil Peart with his roundabout the full thing. I'm like, yeah, amazing. Have no interest whatsoever in sitting behind and playing that drum set. Kick, floor, snare. That's my jam. Now, I almost never get to play kick, floor, snare because I need that rack tom for a lot of the music that I didn't record that I play for other people. So I'm obligated to a 4-piece, but in a perfect world, 3-piece for me, and it feels so light and open and comfortable. Fantastic. So why then, John, did you go out and get a double kick pedal? How did I even get talking about this? I went out and got a double kick because I've had trouble lately playing the drums, getting interested, feeling the vibe. You know, it's kind of a thing that's going on with me more generally, and there's no reason to be alarmed by that. I'm just in a lull, and sometimes one of the ways to shake yourself out of a lull is to change your setup, get a new piece of equipment, try something different. Guitar players do this all the time. Let's play with some different effects. Or if you typically write on acoustic, let's get out the electric and write on that. Just shake up the mojo, try and spark a little something. And so a friend of mine was selling this reasonably good double kick for a great price. I'm like, let's do it. Let's go and get the double kick and hook it up and try to relive some of those old glories. And I'll tell you a secret, I'm even worse at it now than I was then. Are you enjoying the double kick? Not really. No, not really. But sometimes what happens is when you try something new, you could be disappointed by the fact that it's not doing for you what you hoped it would, or you can be really encouraged and excited about the fact that it's pointing you back to where you were already, right? Like having the double kick and trying to play it and laughing a little bit about it is like really making me feel comfortable with the very stripped down kit setup that I prefer to play. It's like kind of honing in and affirming and reinforcing what it is that I actually really enjoy, what really feels like it's right for me. Why am I talking about this? I don't know. But in a weird loopy way, it kind of has relevance to Kurt Weill's song, Chance to Bleed, because I think, I think that song is a little bit about kind of recovering the old fire, or at least recognizing the new fire. I'm going to read the lyrics to you because it's just super cool. It's a damn cool song. And as I said, it reminds me a little bit of Beck, reminds me a little bit of the Stones. And the lyrics, it's not going to make a lot of sense because the way the lyrics are delivered in the song, it's sometimes him talking and then sometimes it's backup people doing like an echo or even talking over him. If you look at the video, it's shot in this club in Philadelphia. A lot of Philadelphia legends are kind of in the club, music legends. Kind of cool. And it's like a party is happening. It's almost as if the lyrics are delivered as if there's a bunch of people speaking and you're just sort of picking out different bits of conversation. But it's just such a cool damn song. Goes, it's just so cool. If you can imagine Beck speaking through this. It's all right. Now you got a chance to bleed now with that old-time lo-fi DIY rock and roll nights. Now you got a chance to bleed now with that old-time lo-fi DIY rock and roll nights. How cool is that? Now you got a chance to bleed now in real time from the heart playing live band of bros. Down south, East Coast blues on a comeback. And I've been coming back my whole damn life. Now you've got a chance to bleed now, you know it's true. With a microphone too hot to hold, scream into it like the days of old. My jelly, baby, my roll. Sweet mama, don't you let that feedback fall. So open up and bleed, Kurt. Things these days don't seem to be connecting. Now you got a chance to bleed now with that old-time lo-fi DIY rock and roll nights. Scream into it like the days of old. My jelly, baby, my roll. Sweet mama, don't you let that feedback fall. You got a chance to bleed now from your fingertips. A Wurlitzer is covered in blood. Rock and roll nights, playing a sad refrain all down your brain. You got it. You got that chance to. Things these days don't seem to be connecting. That's why I'm going to sing it for you. Now you got a chance to bleed now with that old-time lo-fi DIY rock and roll nights. Ah, but baby, I do, and it's all for you. You got a chance to bleed now with that old-time lo-fi DIY rock and roll nights. Well, now's your chance. You got a chance to bleed now. Now you got a chance to bleed now, and that's why I'm going to sing it for you. Open up and bleed with that old-time lo-fi DIY rock and roll nights. What does it mean? I don't know, but I'm listening to it like you got a chance to bleed now, and he's talking about stepping up to the microphone and singing and really sharing what's in him. You know what I mean? Something raw and guttural and primal. It's like you've got a chance right here on this microphone to lay it down with a band of bros. And I think he's just talking about, I don't know if it's about recovering that fire. Back in the day, he and Adam Grandisiel were recording lo-fi demos, you know, in Adam's basement or whatever. It's like a throwback to those early days in music for him. It's like he's trying to recall or recover some piece that may or may not have been lost, or maybe it's just an acknowledgement. And all of you musicians, myself included, might do well to remember this opportunity you've got on stage. To bleed for it, man. Just like David Lee Roth saying, you got to bleed for it, baby. Or is it bleed for it, mama? David Lee Roth was more of a mama guy, you know. But listening to these lyrics makes me think of David Lee Roth. Makes me think of his kind of scattershot, scatological lyrics and delivery. And I just love it. And it is so groovy. With that old-time lo-fi DIY rock and roll nights. It just hits really deep. It's such a cool damn song. If you have not listened to Kurt Weill, Really go check this out. I will, of course, put it on the current playlist, which is the Semi-Eloquent with John Huff, referenced on the pod playlist 2026. You can find it on Spotify, and it's already got a growing accumulation of music we've talked about this year on the podcast. I just really love this song. All those bits are delivered spoken, and then there's a melody to the "You Got a Chance to Bleed Now" part. And somebody else kind of described this as a all chorus song. No verses, all chorus. And it does kind of feel that way too. But the hook is so hooky and the groove is so deep that it's just like, yeah, man. And we do have a chance to bleed now. You know, if you step up on stage, you can lose sight of this sometimes, especially if you're on the road, especially if you're on tour and you're playing every night. Like I've talked before about the Sarah band going to Europe one year, and we took the red eye overnight and we landed in Amsterdam, and we went immediately to pick up our gear and then played 19 nights in a row. Played 19 straight, baby. And on show number 14, I don't know, you don't even know where you are. You're half asleep. You know, sometimes it can become very repetitive, especially if you're one of those bands. I'm thinking of Ghost on the Skeletor, which was 70 nights of basically the same damn show, timed to the minute every night. You're not exactly phoning it in. You're being a professional and you're playing the gig and whatever, but it's like by show number 51, are you as plugged in? Are you recognizing the chance you've got to bleed now, which is to open up and give what you got? Are you doing that every night on stage? Can you? Can you, or are you going to burn out? It's like an endurance event, right? Like you've got to pace yourself in some ways to make sure you just get through 19 nights of gigs, right? But sometimes you can lose sight of the opportunity you have as a performer of any kind to open up and bleed for the people, man, to share what's really in you. And that's not just music. That's anything you do actually with a passion. If you go to your office job and you hate your office job, probably not much there to bleed, at least not much that's positive. But if you're a teacher, let's say, I mean, you can go into class tomorrow and you can bleed, man. You can actually bring what's in you. You know, your passion. It's not a surprise. It's not a coincidence that they talk about your passion as being in your blood, right? The heat in your blood. And Kurt Weill's talking about that. You got a chance to bleed now. Brother, get up on that stage and bleed, you know, give them what you've got. And there have been times when I've done that. Now think of the night that Hearts opened for Nazareth, London Music Hall, 1,000 people, and it was kinetic. We just went out on that stage and we just went off, man. We had our chance to bleed and we took it. And there's nothing quite like that. There's nothing quite like that feeling. And what is it in your life that gives you the opportunity to bleed that way? And are you doing it? I haven't been. I haven't played a gig in a long time, but I got gigs coming. And I'll tell you about at least one of them shortly. But just a really cool sentiment. Quite apart from the fact that it's such a cool, groovy, catchy song, and it really is. When you dig a little bit down into those lyrics, like, yeah, man, we're going to bring it right now. We're going to deliver right now. We're going to share what's in us. And the world right now needs you sharing what's in you, man. The world right now needs you bleeding in the best possible way. And that is you sharing your gifts, kids, whatever they are, and for whomever they are intended or are most relevant. I'm trying to bleed right now a little bit on this podcast. I got gigs coming up, whatever. It's like, where is that energy in you? You know, where is the best of you to be found, and how is it shared? You know, are you taking your chance to bleed now? And I think maybe Kurt Weill is driving at that, or maybe he's accusing himself. You know, Kurt, get out there and bleed. He's going on tour. Maybe he's psyching himself up. Maybe I'm reading more into it than was intended. Maybe it's just a damn cool song with some kind of catchy scatological lyrics, and that's all there is to it. But I encourage you to check it out. Chance to Bleed by Kurt Weill. New record, Philadelphia's been good to me, coming out at the end of May, and a gig in Toronto at History in June. Cool, right? Speaking of gigs in June, quite a segue. your humble host is going back to Europe, kids. I've known about this for a little while. It wasn't confirmed until recently, but I can tell you that your boy is going back to Europe in June. It's an incredibly quick in and out with the Fresh Breath Band live in Sweden, of all frigging places. We're going to be performing main stage at the Lilla by Festivalen. That's a festival in Rinkeby, Sweden. That runs June 12th, 13th. We're going to be there kind of bookending that 10 to 14. Going to Sweden to play a festival. And how did that happen? Well, Josh and Katie put themselves out there, and good things happen when you put yourself out there. They entered a contest called the North to North contest, the grand prize of which partly is performing at this festival in Sweden. And the band won first place in the North to North Festival. And kudos to Katie and Josh Pasco of Fresh Breath who made that happen. We didn't even know. The rest of the band didn't even know. They just popped up one day and said, hey guys, looks like we might be going to Sweden. Keep it under your hat until we know for sure. We now know for sure that Fresh Breath is making its European debut at this festival in Sweden in June. And how does that warm your cockles, kids? I thought maybe at some point in time I would be lucky enough to go back and play in Europe again. I've done 4 tours there with the Sarah Smith Band, playing primarily in Germany and the Netherlands. We also played in Austria, and we played in the Czech Republic. We were supposed to play in Poland, but illness derailed that part of the tour, 2017. Not the point. Point is, I've been very, very fortunate to play over there quite a bit. Loved it. Loved the people there. Loved the experiences. Loved the traveling. This is not an extended tour. This is, I think, 2 gigs at a festival. But who knows what doors may open as a result of us being over there. And apparently Canadiana is hot in Sweden. Who knew? And I'm stoked about it, man. Music has taken kind of a weird shift for me. As you know, I haven't played a gig since last November. That's unprecedented. Since I started taking music seriously about 15 years ago, I've never, ever gone more probably than a few weeks without playing a gig before, let alone months and months and months. But it's been kind of a strange time. And I don't know that I'll ever be a full-timer again. Maybe it's possible. Anything is possible. Maybe, maybe not. But it's just really terrific. The things that music continues to open up. Even as a part-timer, even as a hobbyist. Here's this opportunity to go to Sweden for a few days and play a couple of gigs, and then you don't know. Like, this is the real great, wonderful mystery of it all. Theoretically, it's possible that Fresh Breath connects with promoters over there or bookers, whatever, and then all of a sudden there is an extended tour. I mean, this is all possible. Even if it doesn't happen, just going over there to play, amazing, amazing. And what a wonderful experience. You know, I've talked in the past just about the amazing things that music has given me, even without a double kick pedal. I saw Greenland from the air. I saw the Canadian Rockies, both as a product of being on tour, being on the road, stuff I've seen, the people I've met, the places I've gone, that I may have expected to go there once in a while or at some point, but for music to have delivered these things is really, really terrific. And it's felt like music is kind of over in certain ways, but then it just pops up and says, hey, you want to go to Sweden? And that's really an encouraging feeling. And I will, of course, be reporting whenever we do that. I'll let you know how it goes. But I'm stoked. Now, that's going to require some preparation because you get one shot. You get one shot to go over there, be on the main stage at a festival like that, and really deliver and really prove your worth and really raise eyebrows and really create new opportunities for yourself. And so we're going to be working hard to create a set that does that. And if you want to be part of the process of that, and you're in L-Town, May 2nd, come on by the Forked River Brewery, where Fresh Breath will be playing something of a reunion show because the principals, Josh and Katie, have been in Texas for the past, close to 4 months probably, playing gigs, getting out of the winter, and God bless him for that. We haven't played together in a while, so we're going to knock the rust off May 2nd at the Forked River Brewing. And then, of course, the first of 2 Barn on the Farm shows for 2026 will happen in June as well. And I'm just really stoked for Josh and Katie because these are 2 people who are pros. They're great. They went full-time during the pandemic. Quit their jobs and went full-time as the pandemic was happening, which is brave or nuts, I don't know, but they stuck it out, man. They stuck it out, playing hundreds of gigs every year, traveling all over the place, living in their van half the time, really putting in the work, really putting in the labor as indies and making a go of it. And people who do that deserve breaks. People who do that deserve opportunities. We live in this kind of 15 minutes of fame world right now where people want to become music stars via The Voice or American Idol or something like that. It's like, no, I'm not going to go live in my van and drive around for 5 or 6 or 10 years playing gigs. I'm going to go on a TV show and go from 0 to tour bus right off the bat. A lot of people don't want to put in the labor. Josh and Katie are old school. And they have gone out there and they've kept putting out records and they've kept spending money and they've kept playing. And they've provided as many opportunities as they could for the band to join them. And I'm grateful for that. And it's like, damn right, you deserve a shot at something, you know? And here it is, a festival main stage in Sweden. Let's go over there and kick ass and let's see what that does for their career. And by extension, perhaps for mine. I don't know, but it's very encouraging. It warms your cockles. And there are times when I need to know that things are possible too, you know. There was a period of time, 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever, before the pandemic happened, where it was like stuff was coming relatively easy. Playing with the Sarah Band, touring a lot, getting a lot of gigs. Wasn't making a living, but I could see a living from where I was. And things seem to be falling in place fairly easily, and then a pandemic comes along and destroys your whole industry. Okay. And it's nice to know sometimes that there's still opportunity. It's nice to know that things can still fall into place. It's nice to know that once in a while, the universe maybe throws you a little bone. I hope that will be an encouragement to all of you. Not just the musicians in my audience, but everybody else who's still got a dream. Everybody else who's still pursuing something unconventional out there. The original ethos, the original purpose of this program, way back. I think we're probably at the anniversary, like right now. Is the 7th anniversary of this podcast like right now? It probably is. I'm never very good at marking the anniversaries. I'm good at marking the kind of milestone episodes, but I always forget the anniversary. But it was right around now in 2019 when I released the first episode of this podcast, or what was the John Huff podcast, the interview show with my first guest, Phoenix Fire, the Thrill Show, the Freak Show guy. Amazing interview that he gave me, by the way. Well, the original intent of the program was to encourage people who are trying to do unconventional things. You know, I was interviewing people who do that. Thrill Show performer, whole bunch of musicians, poets, writers, people who were out there chasing the dream, because I wanted to provide the evidence, A, to myself, but B, to whoever listens, that it's possible to do these things. And it may feel right now, the world being the way it is, it may have felt since the pandemic like stuff's just not possible anymore. And then we're all fighting against AI slop, and there's all of this other BS going on. Sometimes we all need to be reminded that opportunity still knocks. Sometimes we need to know that good things do happen to good people, and you can hang in there and hold on to the dream, you know? I get that from this Sweden thing, even if it comes to nothing, which I doubt that, but even if it comes to nothing, the experience itself is like, this is fantastic, and music gave that to us. And how friggin' cool is that, to be able to go with those people who I love and have this really great experience and play together. And I miss the road so much, and this little tiny taste of it just fire me up a little bit, maybe. fire me up more than the double kick pedal has. Excited about it, and I hope that it will be an encouragement to all of you, that if you hang in there, keep doing the reps, keep doing the work, and put yourself out there, these amazing things can still happen, even in music. Pretty exciting. So congratulations to Fresh Breath, and so well deserved, this opportunity. And we're going to go and we're going to take it with both hands, and we're going to give it everything we got. And if you're in L-Town on May 2nd, come and hang out and we'll play for you. You can see what we're up to, and it would just be really swell to have kind of a celebration together. Now, I need to keep this episode relatively short because for some reason I'm losing my voice, and we're already at 37 minutes. There's some music I was going to talk about that I'm going to have to keep for now because I just don't have time. But I wanted things to be a little bit lighter. And so one of the things I'm going to give you is a podcast that I've been listening to lately that I just really, really enjoy. And that is the Ill-Advised by Bill Nye podcast. Not Bill Nye the science guy, Bill Nye the actor. Nighy, introduced to me through the movie Love Actually, which is a favorite movie of mine. He played the aging, drugged-out rocker Billy Mack to such great effect. And those of you... do I talk about this? Those of you who have been in a tour van with me and who may have encountered my alter ego, Keith Dickards, will recognize quite a lot of Billy Mack in Keith Dickards. I'm not going to say anything more about that, but if you ever find me in the tour van, likely you'll meet that character. And if you've seen Love Actually and Bill Nye's character, Billy Mack, some of that bleeds in. Not the point. Point is, he was also in Pirates. He's been in tons of movies, Bill Nye. He's Bill Nye, for crying out loud. And I always thought it was Nye, but he pronounces it himself as Nye. So, okay, who am I to argue? What is Ill-Advised by Bill Nye? Well, it's like a half an hour weekly podcast where people just send questions to Bill Nye, and he provides responses to those questions. A lot of it is like advice stuff, which he says right off the bat, you shouldn't take. It's ill-advised. But he's going to give you what he thinks. And it could be anything about social situations, career stuff, relationships, a lot of sartorial questions. That's about fashion. Because Bill Nye has this reputation as being this very fashionable man. And he is so droll and English and erudite and classy. He's a really sort of classic throwback, old, distinguished gentleman, you know what I mean? But a little bit swampy at the same time. And every week there's a music playlist, there's a book recommendation. And if we're talking about lighter fare on this episode, Ill-Advised by Bill Nye is that. He describes the podcast himself as 30 minutes of wasted time. We're going to get together and we're going to waste 30 minutes together. And that might feel irresponsible given the state of the world, but for mental health, since we're, the last episode was entirely consumed by mental health in heavy ways, one of the antidotes to that is just to consume lighter fare. One of the antidotes to that is to consume stuff that makes you laugh or stuff that's just lighter, man. Spiritually, energetically lighter. I know sometimes my podcast is a bit heavy, especially lately. Go listen to Ill-Advised by Bill Nye and you just smile because he's got such a measured, quiet, gentle delivery. A little bit like Blind Boy in that sense, like not too excitable, very measured. And he's articulate and sophisticated and clever and self-deprecating and funny. And I just really enjoy it. I just really enjoy 30 minutes of kind of escape. It's not exactly mindless. It's compelling, but it's delivered in such a way that it eases your central nervous system. It's almost like a meditation. Ill-Advised by Bill Nye. And you smile. You smile because you know he's smiling. And you can, I think there's a video version of this. I haven't watched it. But you can sort of see him in a suit, sitting in an armchair with a glass of something, with his legs crossed, wearing, like a perfectly tailored suit and just the right shoes, and just talking about stuff in this kind of droll, clever, witty, gentle, erudite, articulate way. And it's like, I'd like to be a Bill Nye. I'd like to be more like the real Bill Nye and less like Billy Mack, But it's just really fun. And so if you're looking for a podcast to add to your repertoire, he would say it properly, I'm advising Ill-Advised by Bill Nye. Just 30 minutes of lower pressure. 30 minutes of just letting the air out a little bit, And damn it if we don't need that. Damn it if we don't need that. I saw a funny meme today. Should I go here? I saw a funny meme, which was an illustration of Jesus walking on the water. And the caption was, hey, look at this photo of my doctor water skiing. If you're following American politics, you will understand the context for that meme. I'm seeing some very funny stuff, and it's great, but the funny stuff is masking a much more troubling truth, a much more troubling reality that the world is a friggin' gong show, and it can feel irresponsible to check out of that. You feel like you're abdicating a responsibility, but the truth is, if you don't check out once in a while, you'll lose your friggin' mind, because it's a relentless, constant barrage of insane BS, and a certain percentage of it is just insane BS, but a certain percentage of it is also people getting killed. A certain percentage of it is also people being unlawfully detained. It's illegal wars. It is schoolgirls getting double tapped by missiles. That ain't funny. And if you spend your time sort of immersed in that all of the time, it's going to just erode your mental health. And one of the ways that you combat that is not to abdicate your responsibility for being informed or for being upset about the evils of the world or for people who are suffering, but just to take half an hour here and there and check out and rejuvenate. And one of the great stabilizing things is to listen to a podcast like Ill-Advised, where you just take things a little bit less seriously, where you can maybe laugh a little bit, where you can just be calmed by a soothing voice. My voice on here is not always all that soothing. It's this weird idiom I've developed as a podcaster. I'm much more gentle in person. And so do that. Do that. Check out of the insanity of the world once in a while and just plug into something that makes you feel good. That can be a physical activity. That can be a favorite drink or a snack. That can be a podcast that just brings down your blood pressure a little bit. And so that's Ill-Advised by Bill Nye. I listen to it every week. It's great fun. And he's a really good podcaster, on top of being a really good actor. And damn it, I wish I was that good at things, He's great. I really like Bill Nye, and I really enjoy his podcast. And now I'm going to go. All right, that is 46 or so minutes of just lighter fare for this week. I want to thank everybody for your, I don't know what the right word is, for your kind words about the last episode. I know it was bloody heavy, but I also know a lot of people listened to it, and it helped those who needed it, and it gave other people a lot to think about. And so I really appreciate people saying that they listened and that enjoyed it is also the wrong word, but that they took something from it. Thank you. Sometimes you just got to talk about heavy stuff, and the last episode was that. So this week, I hope you've enjoyed something a little bit lighter. Definitely check out that Kurt Weill song, and check out Ill-Advised. And if you happen to be in Sweden in June, drop by the festival. Thank you for listening. Ratings and reviews, of course, always welcome on Apple and Spotify. Thank you to those who have done that. I continue to fight the algorithm. I continue to fight against celebrity podcasts like Ill-Advised by Bill Nye. I don't have the name recognition or the budget to do that, so ratings and reviews help just a little bit. And they warm my cockles, and I always appreciate that. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for supporting what I think now is 7 years of this thing. Through all of its various tones, iterations, and directions. I appreciate you hanging. I appreciate you being here now. I'm going to shut up, shutting up, except to say good things happen when you put yourself out there. And I know one or two of you have done that recently. I know one or two of you have put yourself out there in intimidating ways, partly as a result of listening to this program. And I appreciate you telling me that. You know who you are, and you're going to crush it, and you're going to have a great time, and good for you. Good things happen when you put yourself out there. I will be back soon, perhaps with more lighter fare, or whatever needs to be said in that moment. Until then, thank you ever so much for listening, and I will speak to you soon.